That's the Cars. Hey, clever. And Drives, BBC Radio Nottingham. See how we think about these things? It's all very carefully planned. Now, yesterday you heard from Alex Halfpenny, who's director of Sherwood Restorations. Basically, he loves vintage cars. We're doing a bit of a thing on vintage. There's a big vintage festival happening this weekend in Nottingham. You'll hear about that on tomorrow's show. Vintage afternoon tea as well. Anyway, back to vintage cars. Alex sells them for a living. He says they can be a pretty good investment.
You've got people who are have had money in the bank quite a bit, and they just, they don't know what to do with it. They're not earning anything, so they think, well, I could buy an Austin Healey or an E-Type Jaguar or something else, something a bit older, and use it as well, and have it for 5 to 10 years, and then sell it and gain a profit on it. But then you've got the other people that just love cars, and they just want to buy, an MGB or something a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, an MG, lovely. Anyway, it's one thing talking about these things, but quite another to actually see them up close, and that's what I've decided to do. As you can hear, I've come outside to see for myself the attraction of these vintage cars. So joining me is Brian Hodges and Dave Scray, who are both members of the Carlton and District Motor Club, and they have both, it's fair to say, caught the classic car collecting bug. Welcome, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning. Firstly, tell me what we have in front of us. Let's start with the red one. That's yours, isn't it, Brian?
The red one is a 1967 Sunbeam Alpine sports car soft top, 1725cc engine, as fitted in many cars of its day. Dave will tell you about the Riley now.
Right, OK. Well, firstly, with yours, before we talk about the other car, how long have you had it?
I've had that now 12 years.
Right.
So from £1,000, it's probably now worth about 15.
You bought it for £1,000?
Yeah.
OK. What was the attraction? Why did you buy it?
It needed a lot of welding and a lot of work, and it kept me busy for a long time.
It kept you out of mischief?
Yeah.
All right, OK. We'll talk more with you in just a minute. So then, Dave, by contrast, next to the red car, we have a blue one. Could you describe what we have?
It's a 1968 Riley Elf. It's 1,000cc. It's actually the wife's.
Oh, is it?
It's the wife's.
Do you have to say that because you're on the radio?
No, I've got one of my own. So.
Have you?
Yeah, I've got a 1978 Ford Cortina.
Oh, right.
But this one here is the wife's. We've had it approximately 4 years, and like Brian, I've always been into cars and the older cars, and we do the classic car runs and shows. And I say the wife, it's something that she's always wanted. And it's basically based on a Mini. It was known as a posh Mini. It shares all the mechanical parts of a Mini, but it's just got a slightly different body shape.
Right. And which year, which vintage is it again?
It's 1968.
Right.
1968.
So both cars are coming up to, half a century.
Yep.
With yours, would you say it's been pretty reliable?
It's been very reliable. Like I say, we do these classic car runs where it's 100-mile runs through villages and little roads that you wouldn't normally use, and she's never ever let us down.
So she goes all right. It's definitely a she, by the way.
Oh yeah,
yeah, we know that. Yeah.
Yes.
No issues with. How can I put it? Sometimes you see people driving older cars, maybe not ones like the pair of you've brought today. Sometimes people drive ever so slowly along the A614.
They do. They do. But the thing is, if you maintain them well, look after them, then there's no reason why they should break down.
Right.
But
And if they do break down, they're simple enough to fix.
that's it. The thing is,
Yeah.
I'm not really mechanically minded. Could even someone like me deal with something like that, or would I just need to call a friend, Brian, and help me out?
You can phone me by all means, but I'll tell you to buy a manual. Have a read of the manual, look at the pictures. The simplicity of the older car is very simple. If you've got petrol and electric, you will get a spark and an explosion. And that is basically how a car runs.
Yeah.
The petrol...
Within the engine, you mean?
Within the engine, yeah. The modern car's just the same, but you lift a modern car bonnet now and you cannot see the engine.
It's computers, isn't it?
It's computers. You have to plug it in to fix it. If you lift these bonnets, you can name the parts. Right. They're that simple.
How many times would you say, because yours is a soft top, how many times do you go topless?
I go topless often as possible.
This year, how many times have you had your top down?
A good dozen.
Really?
A good dozen. We also take it abroad. It's been down to the south of France, been over to Germany. The reliability, as long as you do the basic maintenance, the reliability is not a problem.
Okay, we will talk some more in a minute. I'm keen to get the engines going on there. Will they start first time? There's the cliffhanger. You will find out in a moment. We'll have a snoop inside these cars, because I like the smell of older cars as well. Smelling new cars is one thing. I know ironically it's the day of the first registrations, isn't it? New registrations today. Anyway, back to the vintage cars in just a moment after this fitting songs, BBC Radio Nottingham. That's Jane Wiedlin and Rush Hour on BBC Radio Nottingham. Rush Hour, see? Talking about cars again, thought out. Headlines on the way, weather forecast with Charlie in the next 10 minutes or so. Outside at the moment, because Brian and Dave have brought their vintage cars, talking about all things vintage this week. Big vintage festival happening over the weekend. You'll hear about that at this time tomorrow morning on BBC Radio Nottingham. So then, Brian has brought, it's Sunbeam, isn't it? It's
Sunbeam Alpine.
Lovely red car. From which year again?
1967.
And you bought it for £1,000.
I bought it for £1,000.
Now you reckon it's worth about 15.
Yeah, lots of welding.
I was going to ask you both actually about the whole thing of what do partners, what do family make of you spending your time in your garage, in your workshop, wherever you are? Do they get annoyed, or do they just think, oh, that's all right, he's out of mischief?
Well, once the main work's done, you know, it is simple to maintain them. I mean, if they break, they're pretty easy to fix, because, as you can see now, I've lifted the bonnet, you can see everything. Yeah. You know, if that was a modern car, you would just see a big plastic sheet and you would no idea where bits are, you know. You can see the alternator, so that supplies the electrics. If that packed up, that's easy to replace. You can see the fan belt, which drives the water pump, which keeps it cool. You can see the hoses. You can just see everything, and everything is easy to get at.
Right. But you don't get into trouble for leaving your oily rags everywhere, for leaving oily smears on the worktop, anything like that?
You sometimes get told off, but, you know, everything goes through the washing machine, don't it?
Let's leave the marital side of things to one side. So the bonnet is up on the Sunbeam. Do you know that one of the biggest differences must be, surely, on the trim? Because both cars have that lovely chrome, don't they? Does that take much maintenance, Dave?
Not really, no. Certain products for cleaning the chrome, and it's just 10-15 minute job, and as long as you keep on top of it, it'll always stay nice and shiny.
So you mentioned that your car is this Riley Elf. And again, it's got the chrome. This is a sort of... What's the official name of the colour, by the way? It's a sort of bluey...
Persian blue.
Persian... I was just about to say that.
Persian blue.
As well as the chrome inside. Can we just open up the door? Because I just happened to notice on the back seat, there's a picnic hamper.
There's a picnic basket.
Yeah, is that what you and your good lady tend to do then?
Well, when we do the classic car runs, which can involve up to 100 cars doing the same route, we always have a halfway point. And most people just park up and we have a picnic and everyone sits around and enjoys each other's company.
Yeah.
It's just good fun.
And is it... It sounds like a very social thing as well, is that right?
Yeah, it's very, very social. You know, it doesn't matter whether you've got an E-Type Jaguar or whether you've got a Mini. You know, you all muck in together, you all get on together. And like you say, it's just like one big family, if you like.
What are the biggest differences between this and, say, if I were to bring my car, which is 4 or 5 years old... Right. I've got a sat-nav in there, and I've got, you know, a CD I can plug in my MP3 player and whatever else. What have you got?
I've got a speedo. I've got a fuel gauge, and I've got a nice, lovely walnut dash.
Walnut dash.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
There is something just nice.
And the one thing my car's got that yours hasn't is that lovely old leather smell of the seats and the interior.
Yeah, you're right. It does.
All old cars, when you open the door, they've always got that old smell of the old leather.
Smells like my granddad's car. Yeah. Straight away, he had a Vauxhall Viva. That's exactly how it smelled.
Yep. They've all got that lovely, authentic old smell.
How much do you reckon your car's worth now?
It's got an agreed valuation of £5,000.
How much do you buy it for?
We paid three for it.
So again, you know, it's doing all right, isn't it?
It is.
Did you get it for that reason?
Well, the reason we got it was, as I say, we do the classic car runs with Brian and lots of other people, and the wife always wanted to get something so we could go with them, and she's always liked the Riley Elf. Right. She always has a thing about the Riley Elf, so we went and we found one.
It's been a pleasure meeting the pair of you. Thank you both very much indeed for bringing your cars. Would you like to start your engines? I just want to know if they do start first time. You might want to close your bonnet for this, Brian, as well. So we'll get the clunk as the bonnet closes, and then I'm going to set you on your way, Brian, because I think this is going to make... Lovely. It's going to make quite a nice sound as the engine starts up, which hopefully it will first time. And I think Brian's going to give us a hoot on the horn as well. So there we are. That's the Elf starting up. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's the Sunbeam. A little bit of a rev. And I think Brian is going to... Are you going to set off on your way, Brian? Okay. All right, he's going to set off on his way. Oh, they just pull... Hey! I need a horn like that in my life. Most definitely. Oh, the classic cars. We'll get some video of this up on our website and up on our Facebook page soon. What a pleasure. David and Brian with their cars. Lovely. All right, it's BBC Radio Nottingham, just gone 10:30. Here are the latest news headlines.